Hey, hello and welcome guys to part 1 of a 4-part series on building an e-commerce store with Divi and WooCommerce that draws some design inspiration from a popular online apparel brand. This series will enable you to clone pretty much any site you see online, whether it's built on Shopify, Squarespace, or even custom coded. You'll really see the versatility of the Divi theme here and what it is capable of. When planning this series, I looked at a few examples of great online stores, and I really like the minimal design of the Abercrombie and Fitch site. So for this series, we'll be building Divi Engine and Fitch. Let's do a quick overview of what we'll be doing. Install and set up WooCommerce will be the first step. We're going to be setting up Divi and the general WordPress install. We'll be creating some global styles to fit our brand. We're going to be designing all the pages for our store, including templates for the product and archive pages. And with that all set, we're going to be adding some Black Friday flavor using the Divi conditional display settings. As we go through building all of these pages, we're going to be making sure that it looks great on all devices by using Divi's responsive settings. And then lastly, we'll talk a bit about payment processing options and tighten up some of the details, like adding packing slips to our orders, as well as changing the design of the default emails that our customers will be getting so that it fits our brand. Now, I'll be doing all of this on my local server using Local by Flywheel. If you don't know what Local by Flywheel is, check the link in the description and it'll show you how to set that up and start using that with your local development with WordPress. Now, lastly, I just want to make sure that you already have Divi installed and you're updated to the latest version. Now, I know that was a ton of info, so why don't we get right into it? Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm doing the development for this site on my local machine using Local by Flywheel. Now, what I've got here is my blank Divi install with Divi already activated and set up. Now, the first step we need to do is we're going to be installing our e-commerce platform, which is WooCommerce. It's a free plugin, it's awesome to use, and it's very versatile when it comes to being able to build sites. And Divi actually has some custom modules that can utilize the different features of WooCommerce. So to install that plugin, we're just going to go to Plugins here. We're going to click on Add New. And then all we need to do is type in WooCommerce into the bar here and click on Install Now. And I'll do some fun thinking there for a second, and we will be doing some configuration around the WooCommerce plugin in one of the next steps here. All right, so it is fully installed now. Now the next step is we need to make sure to activate the plugin. So we just click the button, and it is probably going to dump us into a screen where it wants us to start setting it up, but let's see what happens. Okay, so this is the splash screen or the wizard for WooCommerce when it starts up. It's still thinking a bit. You can see it's broken down into store details, industry, product types, business details, and theme. We're gonna actually go ahead and skip all of this right now because we'll be setting this up in one of the following steps in this series. So skipping that. Yeah, why not? Let's help them out and help them build a better WooCommerce. It's a free plugin and it is awesome. So, okay, now for the next step, we're going to be importing some products. So make sure to download the product file that is included in the link section in the description of this video. Okay, so this step here to import products is for a very good reason because clients sometimes tend to take a little bit of time to get you the information for the products that they need on their site. So what we did at Divi Engine, we created a sample product file with some versatility. It's got some variations in there and stuff to help you continue building on the design of a site before you have the full final product set. Now, if this is your own site, you can go ahead and create the products as you see fit, or you can just use this simple import file. Now, to import the file, we have linked in the description a link to a post that has that data file in there for you to download and use on any WooCommerce install that you might have. So we're going to go import that now. Now, when we go to products, we can just click all products. Now, this is traditionally where you're going to be creating any products that you might have on your site. You'd hit that create product button, but since we're importing that CSV file, we're going to hit start import. We're going to choose our file. And yeah, I have my Divi Engine WooCommerce sample products. I'm going to open that. And we're not going to bother with any of the other settings. We're going to hit continue. It is on the screen where you'd map the different columns in case you used a custom CSV file, or the client, provided you with a custom CSV file where it needs to know, where are these different elements. So if they had something different for description, you click on the list, it actually reads the file, and you can go and specify that. We're just going to scroll all the way to the bottom. As you can see, there's a lot of files, and click on Run the Importer. Now it's going to do some thinking here, because what it's doing, it's pulling images from online and anything else that's referenced within that file. It's actually a very good way to save yourself some time. And as I mentioned before, like when that customer does not provide you with products from the beginning, this is a great way to not have that stall your development process on their site. Now it's thinking. It should take about a minute or so for this to go through the importing process, sometimes a little bit longer. It depends on your internet connection. As I mentioned, it's downloading some images from our servers, actually, because these images hosted for these products are hosted by us. Okay, all done. Now, good news here, we've got the 68 products imported. And the reason it says 68 is because that there are various variations of the products. So it doesn't count for that. So it's actually in reality about 16 products, I think. So let's click on View Products. Okay, yeah, we've got all of our products. And like I mentioned, we've got some high quality pictures. It's all broken down into different categories. Different variations. So that's when you see the price ranges here. And, even when you click over to categories here, you're going to see that we have our accessories category, men's, hoodies, shirts, women, etc. And in addition, we have some attributes right over here. And we've got brands, we've got colors, and we've got sizes. So these are the different things that define the attributes of our products. So we're going to take a look at configuring WooCommerce in the next part here. So strap in. Now we're going to get into the thick of it. Okay, so now that we've got the plugins installed that we need to start building out the site, we've got WooCommerce installed, and we have some sample products in there. We can start actually configuring the WooCommerce install, that step that we skipped earlier when we just had done the install and activation process. So to do that, we're going to go on the left-hand side here and go to WooCommerce and then settings on the bottom. And here we can go ahead and put in our address. I'm just going to use some dummy information. So I'm going to go 123 address lane. And I will just say city is going to be Los Angeles. Oh, Angeles. It's going to be California, 90049. And now we can set this to any address, so you can set any country you like. And then the next step is, where are we going to be selling our products? I'm going to keep it as selling to all countries, but you can go ahead and say sell to all countries except, or you can say sell to specific countries. That's up to you. And the same goes for the shipping. And then for default customer location, it's going to be the shop-based address. But again, you can use geolocation here and all sorts of other crazy things. But we're not going to be covering that in this video. That will be dependent on the needs of your personal store. We're going to be adding some Black Friday flavor, like I mentioned before. So we're going to keep coupons activated. And then you'll set your currency here and then how the prices are displayed. Now, one of the next things that we want to do is, well, before we do that, save this so that's in there. We're going to go to products and we can overview the settings here. Here you set the shop page, and then you can do all different types of things like redirecting when things get added to the cart. You can enable or disable Ajax. You can set the default placeholder image, measurement units, all types of crazy stuff. You can, enable or disable reviews, and then as well as product ratings. So there's a lot of different cool stuff you can do. And if you do inventory management, it even goes more into that than if you have downloadable products. Also, a lot of stuff that you can do there. But what we're interested in for the next part is to go check out the shipping options. Now, the way that shipping works is that you create some shipping zones. So let's say you might have a zone based on geographic location within your country. You can create those. If it might be international zones, you might have different shipping rates for Europe or for the US or for Africa, who knows. But this is how you would create that. I'm going to keep mine to the US for now, and I will add a shipping zone for that. And then we give it a name. So I'm just going to say US zone. And now we need to specify what this zone covers. So as you can see, it's got countries and all that fun stuff in here. I will just type in United States, and I'll be doing this for all the states. We're just going to do one flat shipping rate. So we'll just click that button. So this means that this zone applies to the US. Now, you can make this a worldwide zone if you wanted to. You can do US and add another zone for rest of the world. That's entirely up to you. Again, that would be determined by the needs of your specific store. Now, I'm going to add a shipping method, and I will add a flat rate method. So add that method. Now, that's in there, but we still need to do one more thing. We need to go ahead and edit it, and we need to give it a rate. So I'm going to say my shipments are, let's say, $19.99 anywhere in the US. It's going to be taxable. You can do all this, the configuration of your taxes. Again, that will be determined by your state or your country or whatever the case might be. WooCommerce also has a cool feature that we'll look at the end of the series that will actually calculate any taxes for you. But we'll save this right now. And we've got that shipping method in there now. We're going to go ahead and go back to our zones. And here we see our US zone now. It's got a flat rate shipping method. And that's pretty much that for the shipping zones. Now, if you wanted to add a free shipping, which I think we'll do as well. So let's go here and just add another shipping method. And we'll say this free shipping. We'll add that. We'll configure that. And now we say the free shipping requires a minimum spend. I think that's what we'll do. We're going to do a minimum spend, and we'll say any order over $150 gets free shipping. Now, you can add this stuff with coupons and stuff like that. We're just going to leave this as is, but if you ever wonder what a setting does in WooCommerce, you just hover over this little question mark here, and I'll actually explain what that setting is for. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I've got my shipping method in there. So let's go ahead and check out payment methods. Now, there's some other shipping settings here just before I go there. Adding the shipping calculator. There's, if you're a developer, you can check out debug mode to see if there's issues with the matching. That's up to you if you want to check that out. You can also say, is the destination default the billing address or the shipping address? Do you want to force them to ship to the billing address? Depends on the security requirements for your store. So let's go to payments. Now, as I mentioned in the overview of this part one of the series, is that we're going to cover some options for payments at the end of the series. We're going to cover two payment processing options. One's going to be Stripe, and the other one is actually going to be WooCommerce payment services. So we'll get to that a little bit later. For the purposes of this part of the video, so that we can test things out as we go along, we're going to use cash on delivery as the payment option. So we'll just go ahead and activate that. And you'll see as we add different things for the payment options, you can go ahead and set them up just by clicking that button. And you can give it a name, cash on delivery. And I'm just going to add the word testing in there as a reminder for myself to later delete this out and disable it, because otherwise you're going to have some problems with orders going through on your site. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so let's check out. We're going to want to be able to create accounts for our clients. So we're going to go to accounts and privacy. And here you have a lot of different options, and a lot of them might look a little scary. The first one, you need to decide a few business decisions here. A, do you want people to create accounts on your site? And B, do you want people to be able to check out if they don't have an account? We're going to allow customers to place orders without an account. And then we're also going to allow customers to create an account during checkout. So I'm checking that box right there. And then we're also going to have here allow customers to create an account on the My Account page. That's up to you. I'm leaving that one off for the time being, or actually I'm going to enable it. Let's go all in. Now, With GDPR information and privacy information, depending on your zone, you can go ahead and check this box if you want to enable personal information data request removal. You're going to be linking to your privacy policy here. And we'll talk a little bit about privacy policy pages later in this series. And here's all the retention information. So again, depending on where you are in the world, the information you include or are required to include might vary. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this page right now. So now we've enabled the ability for our clients to create accounts. And we're going to have to enable one more setting in a little bit here that I'll show you. Now, next up, we need to remove one of the endpoints. We're going to be selling physical products in the store. So what WooCommerce does, and we can actually take a look at this. If I go to the pages here, I'm going to open it in a new tab. And then if I go and view the My Account page, you'll see that there's a downloads option here. And this is the default My Account page. It's not very great looking, and we'll talk about that later in the series. But one thing that is unnecessary here is the downloads, because we're not going to be allowing people to download stuff. So let me go back here and I'll show you how we remove that. We're going to go to advanced. And then what we need to do is when we scroll down on this advanced page, you see account endpoints. To remove that downloads part, we just delete the text out of there and hit the save button. Now, when we go back and we hit the refresh button, boom, downloads are gone. So we're not going to be confusing our customers. I'm going to close that out and then come back here. Now, the last part of the WooCommerce setup for this section of the video is going to be to talk about the categories and the attributes. Now, we took a look at them by going to products here and going to categories. Here, you can add any categories you like. You can see that some of mine are nested here. I've got hoodies and shirts underneath men, and the same for women. Accessories is its own standalone category. When I click on Edit Category, you'll see that we can do all sorts of different things, but you can also add a thumbnail to the categories. This is generally a good idea to do because a lot of the pages that we'll be creating, the archive pages for the categories, will actually use these to identify what's within that category. So just to show you how that works, I'm just going to go on accessories here. I'm going to go to my media library. Now you could have uploaded something over there for you, but I'm just going to go ahead. Since this is the accessories section, I am just going to select the picture of the backpack here, use, and I'm going to update that, and now this category will have that image as the thumbnail for it. And you'll see that it's immediately updated right here. And we'll do the same for men, upload, and then we'll just select one of our men products, and we will just go ahead with this Divi Engine shirt. We'll use that, we'll update. And we're going to go through all of these categories and do that. So we're going to speed this up for you so you don't have to watch me do this. All right, we're back. Okay, so I've got images for every category within my catalog. So that's going to look great. So let's go ahead and take a look at the attributes. Now, these attributes are what you would be using for your different variations of your products. So I'm selling apparel on this site. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have colors here. I've got blue, white, yellow, and I've got sizes, large, medium, small. And then I've also got brands to, associate a brand with each of the products. So I've got my 4 different brands here. Now you can add any attributes here that you like. They don't have to be used in variations, but what will happen is that it just gives your customers extra information on the products that are added on the page. So when we start building out our product pages a little later, you'll be able to see how we use that and how we can place that in various parts of the page to help your clients get as much information as they can on the products, and so that you can clone those awesome sites out there and look super professional. Okay, so we're gonna need to create a home page, which is gonna be the first thing clients see when they visit our URL. Let's take a look at what that looks like right now. So when I go up here, I'm going to right click, visit site. And here we are. Wow, that is not the best looking homepage, is it? So we're going to fix that by quickly creating a homepage that will direct our clients to when they visit the site. Now, we're not going to be building it out right now. That's for one of the next steps, but we're going to take a look at just setting it up and then enabling ourselves to further configure the WordPress install. So let's go back to our site here. I'm going to go to Pages and then click on Add New. Okay, so here we are on the Add New page. We're going to give it a name. I'm going to keep it simple and just call it Homepage. Now, next we want to enable the Divi Builder. It's going to give you that welcome splash screen. It's going to probably give us the option here. We can build from scratch, use a pre-made layout, or clone one of our existing pages. We are just going to go ahead and click on Start Building. And immediately it'll ask us to add a row. Now, we're going to be replacing all of this, but just as a placeholder, let's go to the visual mode here. I'm going to add a single column row and just add a slider. And just so that there's some content on the page, I'm going to say save that. And then I will publish my page. Now, you wouldn't publish this on a live site. I'm on a local development environment for a site that will be pushed live at a later stage. So there we go. That's all saved. So let's see what that looks like right now. Let's refresh and nothing, right? So let's take a look in the next step how we're going to make sure that this new page for the homepage that we created gets assigned to be the default page when browsing our new Divi WooCommerce store. Okay, so we've got a homepage created and we want to make sure that when visitors come to our site that that's the page that they get served. So that's one of the changes we'll make by configuring the different settings of WordPress. So let's go to the backend of our site. We're going to go to Settings and hit that General button first. Now here you can go and change various of the basic settings of your WordPress install. I'm going to go ahead and change our site title to be Divi Engine and Fitch, since we'll be creating or recreating the Abercrombie Fitch site. And you can put a tagline there. For me, I'm just going to delete that out. You can change things like the URL of your site. So if you have HTTP and you added an SSL certificate, this would be where you go and update the URL of your site to reflect the HTTPS status. You can change the administrator email. You can say membership, anyone can register. So you're going to want to turn that on so that people can register for the site as customers. So just say new default role is going to be customer. If you do something by accident, like saying administrator or something, you will have problems. So avoid doing that. You only want this to be set to customer. And if you add somebody like a shop manager or administrator, you'll manually do that. You never want people to register by default as something like administrator, shop manager, editor, author. You're going to end up with problems on your site. You can set some localization options like the site language, time zone, how dates and stuff are formatted, and so forth. So let's save that setting. Cool. So stepping through some of the other settings, let's go to writing here, just so that you know what is on these different pages. Sometimes you can do posting via email. You'll set all that stuff up here. We're not going to change anything. We will go to reading next. Here is where we're going to tell our site what page is served when people go to the URL of the site. We're going to do the static page option here, and then we'll set the home page to that home page that we created earlier. You can do other things like discouraging sites from being visible on search engines. This is typically something you'd only use when you're busy building on a site and it's not a production site. It's maybe a staging site or something to that effect. You really don't want this to be on a production site because, of course, you want some organic traffic to come through search engines. So we're just going to go ahead and save that. And on the front end, if we refresh the default URL, we see that page that we created earlier. So that was super quick to do that and to see a nice effect happen instantly. So some of the other things that we will look at is you can add stuff like discussion, which has things like comments on posts and stuff like that. It's not really applicable to what we're doing since we've got a store. For media, you can set the default thumbnail sizes, and it just helps you control the sizes of the media being served. The one we're interested in is the permalinks, and you can set the permalink structure of your site. Depending on what installer you used or what your site is at the moment, we really want the common settings to be set to the post name, so it gives your posts a nice title in the as a URL. So this controls what the URLs look like. If you add something like plain or something like that, you get this ugly, looks almost like code, which is a little harder for people to remember. And you can even set a custom post structure, but we're just going to keep it at post name. Yeah, we've got some areas where we can set the product category base, and we can set the product tag bases and stuff like that. So this controls how that stuff comes across when people are browsing your archive pages. And then lastly, for product specific permalinks, we can say if we wanted our base to be for a product to be shirts or whatever, we can change that stuff here, but we're going to keep it a custom base and keep it a product. So we're just going to save that. And sometimes, just as a side note, if you're using the Divi builder ever and it's not loading and you just get those spinning dots, a great way to fix that quickly sometimes is to just come here and save your product permalinks or your site permalinks 2 times, and that will reset that. Lastly, let's take a look at privacy here. And with all the attention around privacy, WordPress has really embraced that by encouraging users of WordPress to go ahead and create privacy guidelines for their sites. Yeah, you can create a new one, or you can just go edit the one that it actually creates automatically for you. So again, at one of the later installments of this series, we're going to take a look at how to generate those pages. So yeah, that's it for the WordPress setup. Next, we're going to take a look at the Divi setup. Alrighty, so now that we've got our WordPress configured and set up the way that we need it, we might still make some changes later, but this is just the good starting point. We need to go ahead and configure our Divi settings to just simplify our life as we go through the building of this site. So let's go to Divi here on the back end and go to Theme Options. Here we can set our logo, so we'll go ahead and do that. Now, I recreated the Abercrombie Fitch logo to be Divi Engine Fitch. We'll make a link to the font that we used for this in the description of the video. So you can either just download the one that we have, or you can just download the one they made. It's up to you. So we'll set the logo. So this is going to, even if we just save it right now and go here and refresh the page, should update with the new logo, and there it is. It's way too big, but we're going to fix that stuff at a later step. And then we're going to set a color picker default palette. This is awesome because it simplifies your life as you go through building without having to remember color codes. If we look at the Abercrombie Fitch site, we can see that they've got about 3 or 4 colors here that keep showing up. We've got this off-white color in the header and in the footer. We've got the orange, we've got this tan color, and then this blue color that they use for most of their text. I've already gone ahead and identified these colors, so they will also be in the description of this video, but I'll go ahead and add them in to the back end of our site here. So when I go here, I'm going to just select this one. I'm going to put first our tan color, then I will go ahead to the next one, add our orange color. We've got the blue color, so I'm going to go ahead and add that one. And then lastly, we have that off-white color, and I'm going to go add that in right there. There we go. So the last 4 here will be on our default color palette, and it's the palette that they used on the site, which just simplifies your life by leaps and bounds, trust me. So I'm going to save this really quick just to make sure that it's in there. And then we just want to make a couple small changes here to Builder. We're going to go to Advanced. And here, one important thing to kind of do when you're building Divi sites is to make sure that the static CSS file generation is switched off. The reason for that is because sometimes some of that CSS gets a little stagnant, and sometimes the Divi builder doesn't load, or changes that you made don't show up on the front end immediately. So when we're building a Divi site, we like to turn this off just to simplify that. I've also enabled the latest Divi experience and the classic editor. I prefer using the classic editor. Call me a dinosaur, but that's kind of how I roll. But use any version that you like, but this is how we're going to be doing it in this tutorial series. So I'm going to go ahead and save that one more time. And now we've got our basic Divi set up. And in the next step, we're just going to go and make a couple small changes to things like typography to make sure that we don't need to keep setting those throughout the site as well. Okay, so to further simplify our lives as we build this e-commerce store, we're going to have to set up some global styles and branding for our site so that we don't have to keep going into the Divi modules to specifically set things like button styles and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to go access the customizer settings by just going to Divi and then Theme Customizer. And here we'll load up the theme customizer, and you'll see it'll load your default homepage here. So first thing we're going to do is look at the general settings and then go to site identity. Here again, you can change the name of your site and the tagline, and you can also change the favicon. So you get rid of this ugly WordPress one. I am just, for the purposes of this, going to be setting it to this Divi engine and Fitch logo. And as you can see, it's not going to look great, but I'm going to just do DI. You typically would want one that has equal ratio of width and height, but I did not create that for this one. But you can add anything. Yeah, it's just good to get rid of that basic Divi one, and I kind of like that DI. Maybe if I was to make one, I'd do DF, for Divi engine and Fitch, but this is what we're with right now. We're going to go back here. We're going to look at layout settings. Here you can change various layout settings for your pages. We're not going to touch that. But typography is one that we'll work on. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using our brand fonts for Divi Engine, which our main font for headers is Poppins. So let me just scroll down here until I find that one. Let's do it. And there we go. Poppins, and you can see instantaneously that already adjusts on the page. And then for our body font, we're going to be utilizing Roboto. So going down, I wish they would add the preview typing for that so it filters out the results, but that's fine. Roboto, just the normal one, and that also updates instamagically, and that is set. Now we can also go ahead and change our text colors here already for the default, so we don't need to keep changing that. And as you recall here on the Abercrombie Fitch site, they generally use this blue color. So that's what we're going to be using on this site here. So the body text color, we're going to paste that code in there for the blue. And same for the header text, we're going to do that. And you can see that it's not updated here just yet, but as we're building this out, you'll see that it is added as the default color set for the site. Now, the next thing we want to take a look at here is we're going to go to the header and navigation just to show you. We're not going to be changing anything here at the moment. We've got search icons and all this fun stuff. But we're going to be building our own header, so this is not really relevant to us for this tutorial. So let's go down to the buttons. Now, as you can see, Abercrombie & Fitch has these nice skinny buttons with that kind of fill in on hover. We're going to make sure that our buttons do the same effect. So we're going to go button style. The text color for our buttons, we're going to use that blue color again. Let's see what happens. There we go. Got a blue color and it immediately updates over there. Background color, yes, we want that to be transparent, so we're not changing that. We're going to change the border width to be about 1 pixel because that's what they have on their site. And border color is leaving as is. We're not having a radius, so we'll take that off of there. We're going to be using the default theme font that we set earlier. We're going to say no, we don't want the icon on there. So let's see. Okay, so looks like the hover styles need to be changed as well. So let's go ahead and go back here. Oh, wait, one more thing here. They capitalize their text on the button. So we just set that on there. So let's go back. Let's go to the hover styles. Now the text hover color is gonna have to be white. So let's come back here. Text color, we'll just select white. And by the way, you can see our default colors down here. And I actually should have used that when I was struggling a second ago. But hey, you live, you learn. So on hover, okay, the text is now white. We want the background color on hover to be transparent. So we're just gonna slide this alpha down all the way. Okay, so that's transparent now. Oh, I was wrong. We're gonna use our preset color here. And we're just gonna wanna slide the alpha all the way up. There you go. And that should be it. We don't need to add a border color because it falls to that color. There's no radius or anything like that. So that looks good to me. So let's go ahead and publish that. And let's see what that has done to the front end of our site when we refresh. There we go. Button seems to be good. And looks like this logo is in there good now as well. So yeah, that's it. And that brings us to the end of this first installment of this 4-part series. Now go ahead, pat yourself on the back. You've done a fantastic job so far. You've set yourself up to start building this Abercrombie and Fitch clone using just Divi and WooCommerce. You're going to be awesome. And next week, we're going to take a look at building out all of those pages one by one to create the structure for our Black Friday website for the Divi Engine and Fitch apparel site. Now, we're going to be covering a lot of stuff, so we hope to see you in that video. Definitely subscribe and enable the notifications for this video series so that you don't miss a single beat as we go through this. Now, again, this is Roby from the Divi Engine team. I'm enjoying this. I hope you're enjoying this. I'll catch you guys next week in part 2 of our Black Friday series.